All right, I'm going to call to order. This is the Owen J. Roberts School Board of Directors regular business meeting, and we'll rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If we could have a moment of silence. Thank you. All right, this is the Owen J. Roberts School Board Directors regular business meeting this Monday, August 22nd. We're going to go executive section announcement. The School Board of Directors met on the following dates in executive session to discuss items in one or more of the following areas: personnel or legal matters. August 1st, 2022, and also a board workshop was held on August 11th, 2022. With that, we'll go into the superintendent's report. Dr. Stout.
Thank you, Mr. Friel. So our administrative team and the maintenance, facilities, and technology departments have been working hard this summer preparing for the 2022-23 school year. This week, we welcome back our faculty, and next Monday, we welcome 5,429 students back to the district. Last week, 41 new teachers started in the district. These teachers are participating in new teacher induction program and are eager to begin working with our students. At the beginning of August, we had 265 kindergarten students attend our kinder camp. Fall sports are in full swing, and last Friday was the annual fall preview of our bands. Our elementary, middle, and high school bands put on a wonderful performance for their first event of the new season. The district will be closed on Monday, September 5th for the Labor Day holiday. I'd like to congratulate Jackie Crumrine, our Chief Financial Officer, and her staff on receiving the Association for School Business Officials International's Certificate of Excellence in Financial Reporting Award for their 2021 Annual Comprehensive Financial Report. This is a testament to their commitment to transparency and high-quality financing reporting, so congratulations, Jackie. Yeah. On tonight's agenda, I will be asking for the board's approval of the revised health and safety plan that we discussed at our working session earlier this month, along with the hiring of our new Director of Communications, Michael Rodriguez. Michael comes to the Owen J. Roberts School District with over 25 years of experience, including time spent at the PA Department of Education. We have one retiree on the agenda tonight, Kathy Sachs, who is not attending, but Kathy served our district for over 23 years, mostly as a first grade teacher at East Vincent Elementary. She has spent countless hours working with colleagues, parents, and their children to create a warm and nurturing environment that was conducive to learning. As a result of Mrs. Sachs' motivation, dedication, and positive attitude, her students experienced a classroom that was an inviting, positive, and vibrant learning community. We will miss her professionalism and positive energies, but most importantly, we want to wish her well in all of her future endeavors. On behalf of a grateful district, we thank Kathy for her service to the children of Owen J. Roberts School District. And then in conclusion of my remarks tonight, I would like to introduce Mrs. Mary Curley, who's the Director of Communications at the Chester County Intermediate Unit, who will provide an overview of the communications audit the IU conducted for the school district last year. And just as a side or additional information before Mary starts, as many of you recall, we did the CCIU did this audit for us last year. We were able to get the results a few weeks ago, and I did not want to wait, particularly with our new communications director coming on. I did not want to wait until we had a work session in September to go through the results. So we put together, we have the entire report included tonight, but we also have an executive summary that is located on our website under our board agenda. But Mary will give us an overview, so I'll turn it over to you, Mary.
Thank you, Dr. Stout, and thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for having me here. As you know, we conducted the second part of last year, a communications audit. As part of that audit, the methodologies we used were we did interviews and we also did 11 focus groups. In addition, we sent out a stakeholder survey to the community at large, to parents and to staff. And we also looked at district materials and did analysis of the publications that you are currently sending out, as well as what some of social media looks like, both the social media that the district operates and then the social media that has a lot of information about the district in it, but is not district controlled. So looking at those areas and really concentrating on what your stakeholders are saying, overall the district has a good communication program that is based in sound principles. There are areas where there can be improvement, but the school district does a good job of balancing the need to put out, especially in the past 2.5 years, communications, responding to events in the past 2 years, primarily dealing with the pandemic and COVID, and balancing that with also sending out the informational information, that sounds good. Sending out the informational updates that the staff and parents and community need. Overall, there is a high degree of trust in the communications coming from the district and from administration amongst your staff. So in that area, we use a survey called SCOPE, which is the School Communications Performance Evaluation, and that is in partnership with the NSPRA, the National School Public Relations Association. And when looking at that, we're allowed to compare your data to the data of nationwide and also to other school districts within this area that we have conducted audits. And in those areas, the trust amongst staff and amongst parents is either above their averages or right at their average. So there's a high degree of trust amongst your parents and your staff with those communications. There's also a high satisfaction amongst your parents and your staff with information pertaining to student achievement and what students need to be successful. So parents and staff feel that information in that regard is very strong. In areas where they would like more information is in district events and general happenings that are going on. Now, we would have to dig a little bit deeper. That doesn't mean that the information isn't going out. It might just mean that people don't know where to go to get it and to kind of look at that and streamline that information. So overall, the areas where you exceed the national average and are really doing a nice job comes in the perception of the district based on district communications. So again, in those areas, you're above the national average. When people look at your information, and as a result of that, they approve of what they're seeing and they feel good about the district when they look at that. As for where people are getting their information, if you look at parents and staff, the majority of the places where they're getting their information is the district is the source, right? So their number one source for information is email communication that comes out from the districts. Then we look at the websites, and thankfully, social media is down the list for parents and staff and where they're getting information from their districts, which will help contribute to a higher degree of trust and satisfaction in communications. An area where we could work a little bit more is getting that same level of information out into the community. So the community, their sources of information are much more flatlined, right? So in looking at their information and where they're getting it, so they have no one source that goes above the others, right? So they look the same, getting information, the same amount of information from the district as they do from social media, as they do from the media at large, or as they do just from their neighbor, right? So there is an area to reach out into the community so that the information that they're getting is at least on par or not greater than what they're getting from sources outside of the community. So looking at that, and in your full report, we have several recommendations. And one is to really look at unifying goals around district messaging under a central brand platform. So one of the items we look at in trying to see if you have a brand out there, so what do people think about, is we'll ask for a one-word descriptor. And while there were lots of descriptors that were positive, caring, community, there wasn't one that jumped out, right? So there wasn't one descriptor that people used over and over and over again. So that is kind of a sense where people feel good about the district, but they don't have one central, this is what I think about when I think about the district. The other one is what you're doing tonight was we strongly recommended that you hire a strategic communications professional to kind of coordinate all of this. Also, to align district messaging across the district administration and the board of directors, so that when the community, when staff, when parents are hearing your message, they're not hearing necessarily the exact same words, but the same information is coming out, right? So that they'll hear from teachers, they'll hear from principals, they'll hear from the superintendent, and they'll hear from board members the same information. And by that, we mean by aligned to what the district is doing. So here's what we have planned for the district. Here are the goals of the district. Here are what we want your students to achieve. Here's what we want the direction of the district to be. So to try to unify that message so that we're all saying and moving towards the same objective. So communications really should be used to help move the district's mission and vision and goals and objectives forward. Also to enhance two-way communication opportunities. So right now, a lot of folks' two-way communication opportunities are on social media. So to try to provide more of that information and that opportunity in the district itself. And I know Dr. Stout went on his tours, so he went out, and that's an example of being able to speak. The focus groups that we held on the communications, that is an example of having two-way communication where people can feel heard and have their thoughts and their views considered. And in those, we can always have a time and opportunity to say, we hear you, we will look into that. What you're asking for may or may not be feasible, but you get to have that dialogue back and forth. And then to engage stakeholders through a focus on collaborative communities. There was a lot of talk in the focus groups and in the words on they wanted a sense of community. One of the descriptors that came out was large and growing in the district. So district parents and families are really looking for the district to try to create that sense of community that they feel might be being lost. And then also to streamline and target communications so that they're purposeful, right? So that when you have a social media post, it leads into or it supports what the mission is, right? So to have an editorial calendar where this is the mission, this is what we're going to talk about, and this is how we support it, and then to go out and add that to it. To have emails that are on a regular basis to a community. If you're going to do a community email newsletter, send out at the beginning of every year just a postcard that gives them a link to it, right? So not to assume that because they signed up for it last year, they still know to go out and get it. So those types of activities, and to coordinate that into a communication plan where you can follow and track what it is that you're doing, and then look at it to see if you are meeting your objectives. So that's an broad overview. I think the good news is there amongst your parents and your staff, they really want to support the district, and there is a high degree of trust. Where we need to have a little bit more work is with the community, and I think that is because they feel as if they're not getting information. So that's kind of it in a nutshell, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Any questions from the board? All right. Well, thank you so much. It was a comprehensive report, and thank you guys for doing that. I think we
My
found
pleasure.
it very, very productive. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.
All right, item 5, public comment. Information, proposals, and statements from individuals or delegations pertaining to items on the agenda. Speakers, please indicate your name, township, or residence, and the item on the agenda in which your comments are addressed. Speakers will be limited to not more than 3 minutes. Please understand this is not a time for dialogue with the board, but rather the board will listen to all comments and consider them in future deliberations. Also, if you have a question for the board, you can always email us at schoolboardmembers@ojrsd.net. And then if you are on Zoom, please use the raise hand function. All right. Any comments? Yeah, just come up to the podium and just name township residents.
Name's Charles Flieger, South Coventry Township. Wanted to talk about 13.1 health and safety plan. See a lot of stuff on the media about gender and bathrooms. I was wondering if there is a school policy on the gender, I'm not sure how to say it to be politically correct. Just wondering if there's a policy on that, and if there is there measures to take care of that policy? Like, you know.
Okay, you're looking at 13.1, you said?
Yeah,
The health and safety plan? I don't think this is under the health and safety plan, but what I would say for something like that question, there's 2 public comment sections. One's open to anything, and one's relative to the health and safety plan. So it probably doesn't fall under the health and safety plan, but what it does probably follow in the second area of public comment and in public questions, this would be the appropriate time. But what we can do, and I don't know the answer to your question off the top of my head, but we could post that over to Mr. Brentman to follow up with after this. All right. Thank you. All right. Anything online?
We have no public comment on Zoom.
Okay. Back to. All right, board committee reports. Item 6, Chester County Intermediate Unit, Ms. Munson.
So the Intermediate Unit Board met on Wednesday, August 17th. Unfortunately, I was unable to attend because I was traveling, but they did approve regular beginning of the year approvals, such as we're doing at our board meeting tonight. I would also note that our item number 13.11, the joint purchasing program, a lot of those are sponsored by and coordinated by the CCIU. And their next meeting will be Wednesday, September 21st. Thank you.
All right. 6.2, Curriculum Special Education Committee, Ms. Sabo.
The Curriculum Committee met for an informational workshop on August 11th. The committee learned about the curriculum revision process and an overview of the special education programming provided by the Pupil Services. The Special Education Department has and is continuing to expand information online. and the curriculum review process will be available online in the next coming weeks. Based on the curriculum cycle, the district will be reviewing ELA, health and PE, guidance, and ESL curriculum throughout this year. All teachers will be returning tomorrow and will participate in professional development with administrative team. New initiatives for this year will include the elementary STEAM course as a special area for K through 6. Board approved new resources for world language and secondary mathematics and increases in intervention services for elementary, middle, and high school students. Although the curriculum committee is not scheduled as part of the next working session, our September 12th, the LMP committee will be meeting, and they will be discussing the policy for graduation requirements, including the suggested language from administration for the change in health and PE credits. Based on the communications audit, the curriculum and special education committee will be looking for new ways or increase the ways that we encourage and get info out to the public. Thank you.
Finance, Building and Grounds, Mr. Hermanos.
Good evening. The administration and myself and Mr. Friel met with Schrader Architect Group today to discuss kind of the preliminary plans for the library and LGI renovation. And the Schrader Group is going to refine that presentation and present it at our working session meeting next Monday. So that brings the second item that I want to mention is that we will be having a working session next Monday. And that's all there is to report at this point.
LMP, Mr. Daugherty.
LMP committee hasn't met since our last board meeting, but as Ms. Sabro mentioned earlier, we will be holding a meeting as part of our next working session on September 12th.
And Personnel, Ms. Peterson.
As Dr. Stout mentioned, we had 41 new teachers start with us in the last week, which is a large cohort of new teachers. And so I'm excited to report that we have a wonderful crop of new teachers coming, and we have some experienced mid-career professionals joining us in the school district this year. And I extend my thanks and the board's thanks to those who work in personnel working on this large grouping of teachers this year. And as Dr. Stout also mentioned, we will be voting on the Act 93 position to welcome Mr. Rodriguez as our Director of Communications. And I think I speak for all of us when we are excited to have such a experienced professional joining our cabinet team and working with our district. Thank you.
Thank you. And that concludes board committee reports. Item 7, recommendations for routine matters. So looking at 7.1, a motion to approve recommended routine matters 7.2 through 7.11. Can I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Ms. Peterson, you have a second?
Second.
Ms. DiMarino, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 7.2, acknowledgement receipt of financial reports. Can I have a motion to approve to acknowledge receipt of the reports?
So moved.
Ms. DiMarino, second.
Second.
Ms. Sabo, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. 7.3, acknowledge receipt of reconciliation investment accounts.
Mr.
Actually,
Friel,
Mike,
do you
do you
mind?
need to break
Yeah, I was
out
just going to say,
they-
do you
they
mind
want-
if I interrupt? You already did
Yeah, I already
7.2
did the
through
1.1,
7.11. You can go on to 8.
I'm putting my reading glasses up fully here, so I'm going on to 8. My apologies. It's been so long since we had a meeting. All right, recommended routine matters, acknowledgement of receipt of donations, contributions, and gifts. So can I get, so we have the district, Carl Roach, donated her services. They're valued at $231 to the district. Thank you very much. High school, the ONJR Music Parents Organization, $10,000 towards the cost of the new band uniforms. So wow, that's pretty substantial. Thank you very much. Spring Hollow Golf Course, $500 value loan on golf carts. During the graduation ceremony, Coventry Property Services, $450, time and equipment deliver and return to golf carts, and the golf course to main campus for the graduation ceremony. So can I have a motion to acknowledge the receipt of those very generous donations?
Mr. Friel, I thought I was motioning that previously, so what did I motion then?
Oh,
It
17.
wasn't that-
I
7.
second that because
That's what I thought I
thought
was
we were
doing
doing
a minute ago.
7.2, we'd already approved it.
Because I already approved the 7-1, so I skipped ahead.
Right.
So we already approved
Okay.
everybody? Then I just read what you approved.
That's, okay. Can I ask a question about it since we're,
Yeah, file.
I just was, noticing the band uniforms, and I don't know that we've had an update recently on where that project was, and there was new band uniforms and there weren't.
They're delivered, and Mr. Mengele is.
They wore
working
them
on
Friday night and the
Yeah.
preview night, and they look spectacular.
They really look great.
Okay, great. So everyone's happy.
New band uniforms. So I'll try to keep up with the rest of the meeting here as we go. I just drove back from JMU today. It was long. Approval of routine matters, consent items, 9.2 through 9.5. Can I have a,
Do we actually
Do we
approve
need
that?
We voted on
8.1?
8.1, yeah.
We didn't actually vote.
We need to
Yeah,
vote
we need
for
8.1. I'll make a motion to,
All right.
thank you, Dan.
Second.
Second, all those in, any discussion?
Oh.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? All right, we accept all the generous donations. Excellent. Now, can I get a motion to approve 9.2 through 9.5 routine matters as presented?
I'll motion. Second.
Dr. John, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. All right, board discussion. So just a quick note before we get into board discussion is we had a troop of Girl Scouts here from O&J earlier to learn about state and local government. So just want to thank the troops and for coming out, and they asked a lot of interesting and hard questions. So they came prepared. Actually, some pretty good questions we had a field there. So I just want to thank the Girl Scouts and the Brownie troop who came out and all excited to get back to school. Had a lot of good questions for the board. So with that, I want to open it up to the board for discussion items.
Sure, I've got something real quick. Just to follow up on the communications audit that was presented earlier, related to the concern among the community with trusts related to the school board. I don't know how we want to put this out there right now, but I know that this board has been discussing hosting what that format looks like or the frequency of that, but we wanted to host town hall style meetings with the community. So I just want to put that out there.
Yeah, I think that's a really good thing, because I think the town hall style meetings where because these board meetings are so formal and it's we're voting on a lot of items and a lot of agenda items. And even in the workshops, it's kind of structured around an agenda. Is if we just had open forums, and it's easy to do with I guess lending itself to parents and the PTA groups. We can go out there pretty easily to the schools. I think one of the questions and one of the challenges is the greater community that may don't have kids in the school district, either because their kids are older and they're out, or they never had kids in the district. How do we get that feedback and do some work there? So that to me, I think there's one proposal on the PTAs and going out to the different schools and inviting parents to come and folks in the community to come to the different schools as we go out, and volunteers from the school board to go out and do town hall style open question and answer. Just kind of anything in dialogue.
Yeah, I think that's what you said is really true about this meeting is a little intimidating and not really necessarily the best forum to for people to voice their concerns. It's, and they have to wait for the right time in the agenda, and you have timed and all that. But I'm also thinking that, it's always hard when you have meetings and no one comes to them.
Mm-hmm.
That's always a difficult thing. So I would just maybe throw out a suggestion that if we do schedule town halls, maybe there's some sort of regular schedule that develops of those types of meetings. Because if you're a community member and you want to know about something, and you know that every year at this time there's a meeting, or however regular you want to have them, maybe then they would be more inclined to plan for it and be able to attend something like that. Maybe it's just some sort of regular thing, and then if nobody comes, nobody comes, and then if a lot of people come, then it could just be something that the community could expect, and then maybe we'd have better participation.
And I think there's a lot to be said for the fact that we don't really have an organized community information sharing strategy. And, if we can develop one and it includes things in different formats because different people absorb the information better in different formats, that would be good. And perhaps, the very first part of each of these theoretical town hall type meetings could be an information sharing, because we don't do that in board meetings. That's not the purpose of board meetings. But if we have a forum where that is the purpose, it could be, I think, very helpful to us in getting feedback on things that we feel like we need the feedback from the community from, or need feedback from the community on, and vice versa, that they will, I think, feel a lot more confident in the decisions that we're making, understanding that we do have a lot of thought that goes behind these. We just don't always share all the thoughts that we've had in the formats that we have available to us right now.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting thing, especially since we're going to hire a new communications director. Maybe we kind of put some of this on to help us plan some of these town halls, and also maybe the community can drive some of the agenda. We could ask the community for what is the agenda that we should be talking about openly, and kind of let it filter through our communications department. And that way it's not us or administration driven agenda, it's community driven agenda, and can we kind of put it out there as open topics. And then, and then we could be fluid in the meetings too about, pretty informal, and talk about whatever comes up. I think you're right that we got to make sure we can plan it in advance so people have an opportunity, and well enough in advance they can show up.
Another topic? Okay. The Girl Scouts also brought up the fact that they would like school to start later, I happen to notice. Anyway, I just wanted to reiterate that we are looking at this, just so we're all aware of it, and we are trying to get a panel discussion together. So Dr. Stout, I'm just hoping that we're somewhere on trying to get that scheduled with our involved people. So if you could get on that for us so that we can get some dates on the calendar, because we would also like people to be able to attend.
Yeah, we have an internal committee that we haven't met yet, but we plan to do that. But I know we've also had discussions about having a town hall type of discussion that we were talking about earlier, where we would invite some other school districts that have engaged in some of that work, and really just a Q&A type of session to hear from the community. And getting back to those town hall things, or town hall meetings, we've had some discussions, whether we have an agenda or whether it's more or less just kind of like a coffee and conversation where we really don't have an agenda and folks can just come in and chat with us, like we said, in a less, not that it seems intimidating tonight, but a less intimidating type of atmosphere where we can meet somewhere in the community. I'll call it a neutral location, because some folks are intimidated to come to a school setting. So if we could find some places in the community, strategic throughout our community, I think that would be great. But we'll get together as a team, and we're putting a lot on our new communications director who just started. But yeah, we're looking for some ideas. And one of the things that I was not surprised about in the audit at all was the greater community. We have the email addresses for all of our parents, for all of our students. It's easy to communicate with them, but we've always struggled with how do we get the folks that do not have kids in our district and we don't have their contact information. So that's going to be a priority.
One spot that I was just thinking about is our district service centers is going to be open soon. I know we want to have a little open house and show it off. That may be a nice location to also have people come out and talk to us about various things.
I'd also just like to add, following up on Dr. Stout's comment, that when we advertise these, when we have these set dates, times, locations, if we could just advertise those in the local newspapers as well, so we have the broadest reach possible. I know there's people who may not be checking the OJR website regularly or getting email communications or following social media, so if we could just saturate as many of our outlets as possible, I think that'd be great.
Ms. Conrad, do we send out like a postcard to the greater community, or we have addresses? I mean, is there something we could do like US mail, like a postcard?
We
or
have
something that-
postal areas where we could canvass them, with postcards for notification.
Yeah, and
I
just
was
post
writing
a
that
little
down,
like
actually.
community information board, like link on a postcard. That way people know they could go here.
Right.
Maybe we could do something on the website that's strictly for community, sort of outside the.
Right, and our community libraries might be able to help us, and also our community centers within our communities, they have community centers, so there's lots of different ways, I think. And our communications director will definitely be able to help us with that, I'm sure.
We've been waiting for you.
Well, and I do remember getting something on our community-facing web page. Like, there is a web page on the OJR website for community-facing events, but like the time that I got something on there, there was only one other item on the page. I don't think it's very populated, so getting that more known as a source of information about what's going on in the community would also help us, I think.
All right, well, it's a good thing the Girl Scouts weren't here. They had some really tough, I mean, they asked about school uniforms, late start, what else did they get us? What, backpacks? Why can't the middle schoolers wear
Full-day
backpacks? I mean, they,
kindergarten.
Assigned seating on bus.
assigned seating on, they were tough, so, boy, good thing we had them early. Is there any old business, let's come on. All right, item 12, new business, approval of personnel matters. So 12.1 is motion to approve personnel. Well, I'm going to say approve and ratification of personnel matters 12.2 through 12.22. So, and the reason I say ratification, if you remember back in June, we gave authorization for the superintendent to make the hires during the summer since we didn't have a school board meeting. So as those hires took place, they've already happened. So we're just ratifying those hires as well as the new hires on the agenda. So that's 12.2.22. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Ms. Peterson, can I have a second?
Second.
Ms. Sabo. Any discussion? All those in favor? Say aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. All right. All right, 13, new business. Approval of the 2022-2023 Health and Safety Plan as presented. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. DiMarino and Dr. Melnisak. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. 13.2, approval of early admission. Approval of an early admission to kindergarten as presented. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Dr. Melzak, second.
Second.
Mr. Romanos, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. 13.3 is approval of medical and dental examiners, approval of the pay rate of dental and medical examiners for 22-23 school year as presented. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Sabo,
Second.
Ms. Peterson, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. 13.4, approval of confidential waiver agreement. Approval of a confidential waiver agreement for student for 22-23 as presented. Can I have a motion?
I'll motion.
Mr. Doherty,
Second.
Ms. DiMarino, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Approval of conference attendance. Approval of the conference attendance as presented. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Is that Ms. Munson? Ms. Arrow? Okay. Have a second?
Second?
All right, Ms. Munson. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. 13.6, approval of out-of-state overnight student trips. Approval of the out-of-state overnight student trip is presented. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Ms. DiMarino, can I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Doherty, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. 13.7, approval of student activity club advisors and student officers. Can I have a motion to approve those student activity advisors and officers? Mr. Romanos,
Second.
Sabo, any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Approval, 13.8 is approval of addendum to employment agreement. Approval of addendum to employment agreement with Teamsters Local 384 as presented. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Dr. Melnazak, can I have a second?
Second.
Ms. Peterson, any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. 13.9, approval regulation 503D project staff as presented. Can I have a motion?
So move.
Ms. DeMarino,
I'll second.
Mr. Doherty, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. 13.10, authorization for employees to act as agents in signing vouchers and checks as presented. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Armanos, a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Doherty, you got the buzzer. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. 13.11, approval for district to participate in Chester County joint purchasing for the 22-23 school year as presented. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Ms. Munson?
Second.
Mr. Hermanos? Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. 13.12, approval of transportation routes for the 22-23 school year as presented. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Sabo. Have a second?
Second.
DiMarino. All right, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. 13.13, approval of fall community swim program as presented. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Ms. Peterson?
Second.
Ms. Sabo? Any discussion?
I do have a question about this. I asked this question somewhere else, and I don't know if we ever got anywhere on it, but there was questions about the community swim program, about the pool temperature, and I'm wondering if that's been looked into. The pool temperature, awfully cold for young little swimmers, so I was just wondering if there's been any talk of that. Or could we talk about that?
No, you mentioned that to me, and I didn't do anything about that because it was outside of a board meeting. So, no. Mrs. Crumrine, I need to talk to you about the pool temperature. So we'll
Okay,
have
sounds good. It's
We'll
on
have a
the list.
conversation. But no, I did not follow up on that.
Okay, that's okay. I actually forgot when I talked about it. But we could look into that. I know that my kids were competitive swimmers, and I know that competitive swimming requires a certain pool temperature, but when you're talking about the community and young children who aren't able to swim well, it needs to be a higher temperature, and people are complaining. So if we could check into that, that'd be great.
Okay. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. 13.14, approval ratification of professional service maintenance agreements as presented. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Hermanos, second?
I'll second.
Mr. Doherty, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 14, public comment. Information, proposal, statements from individuals, delegations pertaining to any item. Speakers indicate, please, your name, township residence. Speakers be limited no more than 3 minutes. Please understand this is not a time for dialogue with the board, but rather the board will listen to comments and consider them in future deliberations. Also, if you have questions, you can send them to the board at schoolboardmembers@ojrsd.net. And if you are on Zoom, please use the raise hand function. Any comments? Okay.
Charles Flieger, South Coventry Township. I'm not sure how that's not part of the health and safety, about the 13.1 issue. I have two daughters in the school district. One's 15 and one is 13. I don't know if anybody watches the news or anything, but I don't really feel comfortable with a male entering the bathroom with my daughter to use the same bathroom as them, whether they are claimed to be a male or a female. I would like to know where I could find a policy, the gender policy, if you have one or not. That's pretty much all I have.
Okay, so if you could, just if you wouldn't mind just following up with Mr. Brentman, I think we could point you to the policy so you can read it, and he could probably give you a good overview of what actually is the policies and what the practical.
Is there like separate bathrooms that they can use, or?
Yes, there is.
Okay.
But yeah, there is. But I don't want to speak. I don't want to speak out of turn because I don't know off the top of my head. I'd rather have someone who knows tell
Who
you.
am I talking to?
Mr. Brentman right there. Yeah, so you can
All right.
probably give you an idea. What's that? Yeah, what we'll do, we can just post out the policy, what it is. So it'll be on the website. We can post it out. So Dr. Stout, if you want to just take this one to give an overview, and then we can point you to the policy.
Yeah, so the question you have regarding bathroom usage and stuff, there's not a specific policy around that. So we do have gender mentioned in 2 of our policies that we have, and you can do a search on our website. Gender is mentioned in our discrimination policy 103 and Title IX sexual harassment. And the term gender is also mentioned in our equity policy, but it's not specific regarding bathroom choice. So, but what I can share with you is that we follow federal regulations. So students are able to determine the gender that they identify with, and they're able to use the bathroom accordingly that they identify with.
Is there anything on Zoom?
There are currently no hands raised.
Okay.
Hi, my name's Danielle Gers. I'm from North Coventry, North Coventry Township. Basically, my daughter was a junior last year, and there was an incident where there was a transgender in the bathroom, and she was super uncomfortable. And she reached out to me, and I came and I talked to Mr. Kohler, and he had said that basically it was discrimination, and that she was advised to use your bathrooms that are, like, you have individual bathrooms rather than the multi-stall bathrooms. And I asked, like, why she had to go out of her way to do that, but, you know, I guess, whatever. So he also said that, I had asked him, sorry, I'm trying to remember the conversation I had with him. I had asked him basically that if she came to school the next day and she identified as a male, if she could use the men's bathroom. And he had stated, yes, if that's how she identified. And I just feel like there should be a definite policy or something, some sort of guidelines to go by, because that's a big gray area. Mm-hmm. And I think also too that even if there is a policy, I think that it needs to be pushed to parents so that they are aware. And I think too that the students should be notified, because when I went to Mr. Kohler and I had said to him, he had told me that he was aware of that student being transgender, but that actually that student shouldn't have been using the women's bathroom at that point because nothing had been approved.
Interesting.
So I think that really needs to be addressed to students and parents.
Okay, thank you.
Julia Harthway from North Coventry Township. I'd like to see the federal regulation that you're referring to and when it was enacted, This is reminiscent of we have to follow the CDC. I could be wrong, haven't looked into this, but it's my understanding, and it's a legal question, as to whether or not you're required to follow those regulations or you just don't get certain benefits if you don't follow those regulations. You may not get certain monetary business as a school district. That's how they try to enforce it. But it's my understanding this board has the authority to develop that policy. I think rather than we have to follow federal regulations, this should be looked into a little bit. Legal opinion would be appreciated. And I'd like to see the federal statute that tells you that you have to allow anyone who identifies as that day into wherever they want to use the facilities. The whole idea is to develop policies so everyone knows what they need to and not follow, not just brush it off as we're stuck with what the feds say. I do not believe that that is how it's written or what's required. And it should not be another situation of where you blindly just follow what some federal agency supposedly says, instead of developing your own policy for the good of this community, whatever that may be, whatever the input is. But I would not strongly suggest that you do not brush this off as we have to follow federal regulations, because that is, for the most part, a cop-out. Those regulations are almost always massively broadly written. Thank you.
There's multiple decisions. I mean, I can answer it now if you want. Yeah, just real quickly, I can provide the board a more detailed legal opinion, but the regulation that Dr. Stout is referring to is actually a notice of interpretation issued by the United States Department of Education, Office of Civil Rights in June of 2021. Also, there are numerous federal court decisions which have found that denying a student the opportunity to use the facilities, school facilities of the gender to which they identify is discriminatory under Title IX and the Equal Protection Law.
Thanks, Mr. Subers, appreciate that.
Mr. President, we have one Zoom comment.
Oh, okay.
Catherine, can you please state your full name and township of residence?
Yes, Catherine Connor, East Coventry. I actually just wanted to thank you for bringing up about the temperature of the pool. There are several people in the community that with children with physical disabilities that are unable to use the pool because of the temperature. So I appreciate that is being further looked into and discussed. I also just have a suggestion, or maybe I'm not getting it, but as far as the communication to the community at large, I know other school districts once a month send out a mailer with events that are happening at the school, with spotlights of, student of the month or whatever, or spotlights of those who made honor roll. I think that it would be something that I know for some of the older population that their kids have gone through the school, that they could see what's happening that's good in the school district. And I think it would be a good place then to also allow students to maybe take part in some of the writing of the bulletin that's sent out once a month. So I think it could have some multiple benefits that kids could use it for their college applications, that, hey, I participated and helped wrote, the Paul report, whatever you could play on that, out to the community at large as well. Maybe kids that are right for the newspaper, kids that take part in the yearbook, maybe they want to write something. It's just a suggestion that they could have the kids also take part in something that's coming from the school that's also being sent out to the community. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. Any more on Zoom?
There are no more hands raised.
All right, let's, so board discussion follow-up and requests for information. Are there any follow-up discussions or requests for information from the board?
Yeah, regarding the, that whole discussion about the federal regulations versus the restrooms and all that, I'm wondering if Mr. Supers could provide us with, that exact wording. I was under the impression, and maybe I'm wrong, but I've been under the impression that we have not had to deal with this this issue in the past because we had single stall bathrooms available and they were just being utilized as desired, and we did not have any specific confrontations with students in the bathroom with another student that they were uncomfortable with, at least not that I've ever heard. But now it seems like that's changed, and so I was thinking that it would be nice to really read that statute through, see what kind of legal decisions have been made in especially in our area, because I do know that, these kind of lawsuits come up all the time, and I see different, articles about them, and they're handled different ways in different places. So anyway, I think we really need to know.
I can absolutely provide you additional information on that,
Okay, thank you.
provide the board as in total.
Yeah, you can circulate to the whole, we'll make sure to get the whole board gets the synopsis there. All right, and
Paul, I had a couple things, just real
Yeah,
quick.
yeah.
Minor things, actually. I was just curious, Jackie, do we have anybody that has applied for or tried to take advantage of our tax rebate program to date? Do you know anybody that's been interested in that?
I have to check on that. I know we had a few inquiries, but I have to check on that to give you exact number. It's not a lot. I can let you know that.
I was just curious, yeah. And then the other thing was, I haven't heard us talk about this for a while because I know we have a new school year starting, so I was curious, are the cameras on the school stop signs being deployed for this upcoming school year? And if so, are we going to communicate that to the community?
We are still working with council to review. I don't know if Mr. Supers wants to comment
Yeah, I
on that.
mean, we are we've been negotiating the contract language with the company involved. There was an issue regarding the underlying statute authorizing that and the disposition of the monies derived from the fines and what you can use with those monies. So that's delayed the finalization of the contract, but we'll have that finalized shortly. And we've been dealing with it with several districts, and the company's interpretation was different than ours, and we're working through that.
So timeline, you think?
I'd say, I mean, next week or two.
Okay.
Right, and then we would actually need to go through the process of having them installed, and we're already starting the school year. So we would work closely with Dr. Stout, our transportation office, and then our communications director as well regarding that.
Yeah, can we, once you get that, can we get a date certain on installation? Because I know Springford's done it, some other school districts done it, we're seeing it now. It's a good I mean, I think it's a safety issue, so I think we should do everything in our power to expedite both the contract and the execution of the physical changes to the buses.
Yeah,
So if we could get a date certain.
I think Springford's in the same position right now, but we are wrapping all of those contracts up.
Okay. All right.
I had a question regarding board policy with a small p, board meeting policy. And I've heard this over a number of months of listening and attending board meetings. When a community member says they had contact with a building administrator or teacher, and the teacher or principal said, do we ever follow up with that person to say what was actually said and then clarify whenever possible, so the comment doesn't just sit out there and have a life of its own?
In what context, Nick? So like, is it someone
Well,
coming to
I
you?
just heard a comment about what a school administrator said about gender bathrooms. Now, did that person actually say that? And can we clarify what was said and maybe get back to that person, so it's not just boom, it was said at a board meeting, so it must be true.
Right. Okay. I'll pass this one to you, Dr. Stout.
Yeah, sure. I will have a conversation with the administrator in question, so.
No, I don't think that's the nature of the question. So we get questions all the time from staff.
emails, this is answer. She has it in writing.
So, yeah, that's fine. All right, any other board discussion items? All right, meeting adjourned. Thank you all.